Hello and welcome back. This is a continuation of the road trip book haul. We're on to Washington now. I think I did part 1 already, so this is part 2 of Washington. I've got at least 3 more stacks here coming your way, and so this is the first of 3. I've tried to organize them again into sort of like these categories, roughly speaking, but kind of hard to do because they're kind of random. But this is nonfiction, kind of like philosophy, psychology, history, sociology, kind of. We'll pretend like that's a cohesive group. Anyways, first up in the stack, we've got more Sartre. And now there was a previous video where I had like 4 or 5 books by Sartre. We've got another one here. This is Essays in Aesthetics, okay? At this point, I don't even know what I'm buying. I'm just buying all of Sartre. Not that I'm in particular support of Sartre and existentialism, although I haven't read him, so I shouldn't be too harsh. But apparently, according to Google, one of the arguments he puts forward in this book is that art that is made in the effort to bring about some sort of social change is better than art that is brought about for its own sake, which I think is laughably incorrect. But sorry, there's flies and mosquitoes and stuff. But anyways, yeah, like I said, shouldn't judge too harshly until I've read it, but I don't think me and Mr. Sartre are on the same page. Anyway, next up we've got, this is a deep cut. I've said that a lot in recent videos. I like that word, or that term. This is a deep cut. So Aldous Huxley, you're probably familiar, Brave New World. He also wrote Doors of Perception, Island, Brave New World Revisited. He wrote that book on Eastern philosophy. What is that? The Perennial Philosophy. I read that pretty good. Now this is one I hadn't even heard of before, and that is The Art of Seeing. So he actually had to read by Braille for a long time because his sight was so bad, he was basically blind. And then he wore very heavy spectacles for part of his life as well. But he found this like quack doctor, like pseudoscientist guy who like had these exercises that would help you restore your vision, and he did them, and they worked, and he regained his sight. And so this is kind of the chronicle of him regaining his sight via these strange methods. So I'm very excited to read this to you. I don't know if you've noticed, I take my glasses off for the videos, but I do wear glasses. My prescription's not particularly strong, but maybe when I read this, I'll try the exercises and I'll report back to tell you if they work, because maybe Big Glasses doesn't want you to know about this book, but anyways. Next up, we've got some Jung. Always happy to find him. First up, we've got this book, 4 Archetypes, okay? He goes over Mother, Rebirth, Spirit, and Trickster. Yeah, what I want to say about this, I think it might be an extract, actually, from a larger work called The Archetypes in the Collective Unconscious. So I don't know, maybe this is like kind of a duplicate, but I don't know. I like to have these. They're cool. And I think I got this for like $9, so that's a pretty good steal. What are the archetypes? Okay, common misconception. People like to think of the archetypes maybe as like personality types. That's not what they are. Archetypes are, I think in Man and His Symbols, he kind of compares them to like riverbeds in the brain, in the collective unconscious. And so when it rains or when there's like mental energy, the water is more likely to flow and collect at the bottom of these riverbeds. So they're kind of like predefined paths or energies to which our behavior and thoughts are attracted. Now, of course, sorry, I keep looking down because there's like a bunch of flies trying to bite my legs. I'm in the middle of the wilderness here, so it's a good place to film because there's no, it's kind of solitary, you know? No one's going to bother me. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, certain people might embody certain archetypes more, but yeah, it's distinct from a personality type. And actually, Jung wrote on personality types, which is our next book. He has this book here, Psychological Types. Okay, apparently he wrote it after like an 8-year period of not publishing much, and he says it's like the culmination of like 20 years' work. So this is probably one of the more key Jung texts there is, Psychological Types. In it, he says he distinguishes his methods and his psychological theories from those of Adler and Freud. So yeah, I think this, again, is one of the more key Jung texts. Now, that's coming from a non-Jung scholar. I haven't really read too much of Jung. I think I've only read Man and His Symbols. But it seems that way, for sure. Yeah, and in this book, he talks more about personality types, apart from the archetypes. How do the archetypes relate to the psychological types? I don't know about that. I haven't read the book yet. I hope he goes over that. but it seems like the psychological types or the personality types seem to be more distinguished on the lines of like introversion, extroversion. But yeah, again, haven't read it yet, so. Next up, oh yeah, Karl Popper. Now, I was really hoping to find Popper's Open Society and Its Enemies, his most famous book. I do want to find that still, but this is next best, okay? The Logic of Scientific Discovery. This is the main text in which he brings forward his philosophy of science, especially as it relates to his main theory, which is falsifiability, okay? Basically, he's saying that scientists need to be more bold in their proclamations, and that their proclamations and theories need to be falsifiable, meaning you have to be able to falsify or like prove wrong the statement. So, for example, an example of got him, killed the fly. An example of a falsifiable statement, and I think this is an example he gives in his book, is that all swans are white. Okay, that's a falsifiable statement, because if I find a black swan, I've just falsified the statement. So that is a scientific theory. A non-scientific theory would be something like astrology, where it's like, oh, Capricorn, your next month will be productive, and you will have psychological insights. Okay, it's too vague. It's not falsifiable, right? And so, actually, I remember reading an essay by him, and actually might be an extract from this book, in one of my classes in university. And yeah, I remember him like being very, Popper that is, being very critical of like Freud, right? Because his psychoanalytic method is totalizing, meaning once you observe a phenomena, you can kind of come up with any explanation to justify it, right? So yeah, Karl Popper, not a big fan of Freud. Next up, we've got a work by Nietzsche. It's actually his first book ever, and that is The Birth of Tragedy. Now, Nietzsche was trained as a philologist, and so he's going over in this the history of the tragic form in art, that being, I think, music, drama, painting. And in this, he kind of sets forth one of his more better known theories, which is the idea of the Apollonian versus the Dionysian. Yes, Apollonian versus Dionysian energies in art and art history. I'm probably bungling this, but the Dionysian is the disordered and chaotic, and the Apollonian is like the light, the good, the ordered, and how those opposing forces kind of mix in well-developed pieces of art. Yeah, kind of short, but good to have it. Next up, okay, this one is very confusing, and I'm not even really going to try to explain it, and that is Hegel's Phenomenology of Spirit. Okay, you can order this at any time, and I could have, but I didn't want to. I like finding books in the wild, and I almost never buy new, but I found this in the wild. It was new, not used, and I bought it because only $20, you know, what are the odds I'm going to find it used? So I've never seen it before in a bookstore, so I was happy to buy it new. But yeah, what's going on in this book? So Hegel, oh my gosh, there's so many flies. Hegel is kind of a part of this tradition of German idealism, okay, started by Kant. Immanuel Kant, of course, was trying to reconcile empiricism and rationalism, right? Rationalism is all knowledge comes from reason. Empiricism is all knowledge comes from experience. He wants to reconcile these two opposing forces. And so the way he does that is he comes up with this theory that, well, the world is not constituted purely of an independent objects, like that would be like a realist position. He kind of is more in the anti-realist camp, where things are constituted primarily by our mind and the way that we perceive them, because they are influenced. We obviously do not perceive things as they are, or we don't experience things as they are, but as our mind comprehends them. Sorry, I'm very distracted by these flies. I don't know if you can see them on the camera. And so Hegel's kind of in this tradition of Kant, German idealism, trying to complete the system, right? And so he comes up with this theory of absolute idealism, which I'm not clear on. And then, of course, Hegel is very associated with the dialectic, which is, the theory of history that society is kind of progressing towards this goal. Oh, that's a massive one. Holy crap. Come here. Damn, that's a big fly. He's gonna come after me again. I know it. Anyways, sorry for the distractions. What was I saying about Hegel? Yes, the dialectic, the theory of history that society is progressing. I'm not sure towards what. Got him. Yes. How is he still alive, bro? Okay, got that one. I should have to edit this out, I think. Anyways, yes. Yes, antithesis, thesis, and synthesis. Anyways, moving on. Next up, we have some Baudrillard, French sociologist, 20th century. This is one of his more, his better books, so I've heard. Oh man, I'm not being left alone here. Apparently, it's a diatribe or manifesto against dialectics. So, kind of we got Hegel and Baudrillard going head to head here. And I probably look like an insane person to you, because you probably can't see the flies. But yes, Fatal Strategies. What exactly is he doing in this book besides railing against dialectics? I'm not too sure. But Baudrillard, of course, is very scattered when he writes, and he is the master of intriguing chapter titles. We have Ecstasy and Inertia, Figures of the Transpolitical, The Object and Its Destiny. Okay, so very interesting sounding here. Okay, almost done. One more book before I go insane with these flies. Last up, this is kind of an investment. Okay, this is a more hefty purchase, but I'm very happy with it. Kind of got to put down my mic here to hold it up. It is Oswald Spengler's The Decline of the West. Okay, 2-volume set. It's hardcover. It's the Borzoi books published by Knopf. I don't know if you can see that. Anyways, I think these go for pretty expensive online. I think I got it for like $50, so like half price. Is it half price? Actually, I have no idea what it goes for online. Anyways, Oswald Spengler, kind of an interesting character. German polymath, kind of like a mathematician, philosopher, historian, born 1880. And his theory, at least that he puts forward in Decline of the West, is that societies are like biological organisms. They have a determined lifespan, and they can't really go beyond that. And so there's 4 kind of stages, or main stages to every society and its growth and development. And he uses his theory of cyclical history to predict that Western society is kind of in its decline, and that the executive branch of the government is going to start becoming a very Caesarian, I think this is the term he uses, and sort of exercising more power, arbitrary power, and that, I don't know, haven't read it yet, is the Western society is going to decline from there, and it can't survive forever, and something has to come to replace it. So I don't know, maybe it's the Chinese century, hard to say. Anyways, I'm going to pause the camera and kill all these flies before I record the next video, and thanks for watching. I'll get back to you.